It's a Broadway show. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this summer we're taking a look back at some of our best interviews from the past Broadway seasons. Let's get going. Vanderpump Rules star Ariana Madix is razzle-dazzling right now on Broadway. Fresh off her stint on Dancing with the Stars, Ariana is taking on the role of Roxy Hart in Chicago. We had a chance to chat. We're so excited. I mean, this is the show to me anyway on Broadway. Like I love the show so much. It's just been amazing since you've been in it. There's been so much buzz and so much talk, so that has to be exciting for you.
That's very exciting. It makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel like the amount of fun that we're having on stage every night is contagious, and that other people are having that fun too.
That role of Roxy, I mean, how fun is that though? I mean, really, there's
so fun.
Every song, every...
Yeah, it's so much fun. And it's fun, you know, night to night. Sometimes, you know, before my Roxy monologue, we'll just be chatting backstage and I'm like, I'm gonna think of something like more unhinged to do today.
Why? Just to break it up a little bit?
Yeah, just to keep having fun. And sometimes just depending on like how the audience is, you know, just throw in something a little bit different. Just, you know.
Yeah, what has that been like since the start to now?
You know, I've learned a lot about, I think, what it means to just go out on stage and have fun and be present and listen to, you know, everyone and everything that's going on in that moment and really enjoy it. And, you know, every night when I leave the theater and I'm about to turn off my dressing room lights, it's very corny, but I always look at the mirror and I'm like, okay, another day, my favorite place on the planet.
But you extended already, right? Any chance
Yes.
you'll extend again, or is it just?
Well, I have to go back to LA. I have some work. My friend Katie and I are opening a sandwich shop in West Hollywood, and so there's a lot of work to be done there in between the end of my Chicago run and anything else that comes after that. So I'm very excited to do that. But once that happens, I would come back anytime.
Oh, good. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
A sandwich shop. What made you decide to do a sandwich shop? I know there's drinks, I know there's a book. What is sandwich shop?
So that was something that Katie had wanted to do for a long time, and I thought it sounded like a really fun, really great idea. It's kind of like our little, we always joke that in every rom-com and every Nancy Meyers movie, there's always a cute little, there's a bookstore, there's a coffee shop. So this is like our rom-com moment.
I love that. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
What a difference though from being on the stage here, I know Dancing with the Stars, to the sandwich shop, but that's going to be great.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life.
I could not agree more with you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Dancing with the Stars, like that was a whole other, you know, beat to have to do. What was that like?
It was probably the hardest thing I will maybe have done or will ever do. The toll that it takes on your body. You know, going into it, everyone says it's gonna be really difficult. You're gonna have to be super committed. And I was like, yeah, great. And then as it's going along, I'm like, oh, you were not kidding. And it's difficult in ways that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And you know, the commitment level is so necessary. You know, people who go on that show, I was kind of able to, in some ways, just ignore and block everything else out as much as I could. But there's people who do that show, you know, they have young families, they have so many other commitments going on at the same time. And yeah, I don't know how anyone, and I don't know how these pros do it year in and year out, because it is insane.
They must not feel the pain anymore. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, ibuprofen was my best friend. I'll say that.
I believe that. Did that help prep you for this role with Chicago, do you think?
Absolutely. You know, obviously the type of dance that we're doing in Chicago, the Fosse style dance, is very different than what we're doing on Dancing with the Stars, these many different ballroom styles. But that type of rehearsal process, the learning process, you know, with Dancing with the Stars, it's a new style of dance, full on, full out, every like 5 or 6 days. And with Chicago, what's great about it is once you learn it, that's what you're doing every night.
Right. So say 8 times a week, or how many times are
8 times a week, yeah.
That is amazing.
So that part's great.
It's time to go into the big top. Water for Elephants is now on Broadway. It's based on the best-selling novel and hit movie. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Thanks, Tamsen. Sara Gettelfinger rose the ranks on Broadway for well over a decade, starting in 2000, going from standout chlorine to acclaimed leading lady. Then she was gone, leaving fans like myself wondering what happened. Now that she's back in the new hit musical Water for Elephants, she's ready to share her incredibly personal story that found her facing her darkest days far from the lights of the stage. This is Water for Elephants.
Yes.
You're back on Broadway. I'm so thrilled to see you.
Thank
How does it
you.
feel? This theater has a little history for you.
Oh, for sure.
Because you were in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, one of my
Yes.
favorite musicals. So you know all about birthing a new musical
Oh, absolutely.
at the Imperial Theater.
Yes.
So how does it feel to be back here?
It is unbelievable. It's surreal. It was equal parts this incredible start of a second chapter, but also an unbelievably beautiful homecoming. Even when we took our first tour, with
Yeah.
this group, some of the same crew that was there
Wow.
from Scoundrels, and it was really like just putting on your favorite old comfy sweater. That was like, I am back where I feel at home and I belong and I love it.
Let's keep walking.
Yes.
Let's go sit down. We have more to talk about. The last big credit I remember you doing prior to seeing you back on Broadway was you were Morticia Addams in the very big national tour of the Addams Family, which is a really good gig. And I think you were on the road for, was it a good year?
Yeah, it was a year and change.
And then I haven't seen you since.
Correct. I was not in a good place when I booked that show. That year of that Addams Family tour would sort of be after going from being a partier to very regularly using drugs and alcohol. I hit the end of the road of I'm not able to, not only is it not giving me those perceived superpowers that I thought it had as far as, I have all this energy, I'm thin, I can do anything, but it was crashing and burning big time.
I know you just hit 11 years sober. Congratulations. Yes. How did that moment happen for you 11 years ago?
My health was really deteriorating. I was in the worst physical shape. And when I say the worst mental shape that I've ever been in, just paranoia to where, like I wasn't able to leave the house. I wasn't able to just take care of basic things in terms of maintaining an apartment. And I had a very dear friend in Brooklyn that had been in the program, and there was, just one evening where I literally felt like I very much in a form of like a panic attack kind of thing, but I just remember taking a car to her apartment and just really saying, I can't do this anymore, and I can't, and she said, give me your phone, we're gonna call your parents, it's time. And the next day, I flew home.
I can't imagine how difficult that was.
Yes, it was heartbreaking, and it was heartbreaking for them. It wasn't our family's first rodeo with addiction, just in terms of genetics and things like that. But I also think that there was some relief in it because I think they knew that I wasn't well. There's nothing like being, the golden girl who's, Broadway darling, and then after the fall from grace, trying to go shopping in a grocery store and literally having people pointing and whispering, and it's like everybody knew about it.
When you step on a stage and you hear the roar of the audience, right? It's a classic Broadway showbiz moment. Does it mean something different for you now?
I actually view the curtain call as a thank you to the audience, because I love what I get to do every night regardless. And I feel gratitude to them that because they've shown up, I get to step out there and tell this story and do what I love.
There's so much more to Sara's incredible journey back to the Broadway stage, including a second addiction, not a relapse, but a new addiction brought on by medications prescribed by her doctor, followed by an arrest, a suicide attempt. And finally, redemption in the form of newfound love and family, and the unlikely events that led her back to the Broadway spotlight. I hope you can check out my full interview with Sara Gettelfinger, one of the stars of Water for Elephants, over at Broadway.com. For The Broadway Show, I'm Paul Wontorek.
This is The Broadway Show, and we're back in just a few. Welcome back to The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. Welcome to Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club, a sinister and visionary new revival of the classic Broadway musical, now open on Broadway. There's no other way to describe this experience other than totally immersive. You're actually in the Kit Kat Club. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Thanks, Tamsen. Scenic and costume designer Tom Scutt was nominated for 2 Tony Awards for transforming Broadway's August Wilson Theater into the Kit Kat Club. Let's go inside the immersive world of Cabaret. Thank you for inviting us into the Kit Kat Club. Obviously, we know Cabaret takes place in Weimar, Berlin in 1930s, but we're on 52nd Street, but I don't know where we are. We could be anywhere.
Great. I wanted it to feel like artists, creatives, queer culture had sort of taken over a building that was part of the mainstream, I suppose, and subverted it slightly. So that does, of course, have connotations of 1920s Berlin. It also has many different connotations over the 20th, 21st century. And there are touch points that I've sort of lent into slightly from all sorts of different eras, and just to create something that feels dreamlike, I suppose. I wanted it to sort of feel transportive and that we're being taken somewhere else and someplace else at a different time, but not necessarily completely sort of nail down or be specific about when that is.
All right, here we are going into the Vault Bar.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful space, but it looks like this is one of the areas where you got to use the artists that you were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And also some of the original details from here. I mean, obviously this theatre has had many, many renovations over the last 100 years. So a huge part of this job was not only what are we going to bring in, but also what are we going to bring out and what are we going to celebrate and use rather than try to cover up. And I think that sort of speaks somewhat to the whole endeavour anyway. You know, how much are we pulling from history and how much are we sort of adding onto it?
Okay, so now we're in the Red Bar. It's very quiet in here right now, but when I came to see Cabaret, it was bodies and drinking, and in all of that, you have these beautiful paintings. So tell me about them.
Okay, so these are amazing commissions by this extraordinary artist, Jonathan Lyndon Chase, and I really love about this project trying to find artists who are sort of adjacent to theatre or slightly related to it in some way in their work is sort of represented, but not quite in the same world. And just fusing. I think so much of this project is about doing that. It's like interfacing theatre with fashion, with architecture, with hospitality, and with fine artists.
We've made it. We're in the green bar. You know a designer is committed when you dress the tables and the ceiling and the bar and so much.
It's slightly obsessive, isn't it? One of the things we've got in here is this board that we've made behind the bar, which we've got illustrations from Eddie and Gail and Stephen Skybell of their own Cabaret Eyes, which they've signed. And so we sort of like to build it up. So
it's
it
going to
just
keep
has
growing.
This kind of historical feel, yeah.
Okay, we made it here into the theater. Now we have to talk about the Cabaret tables, which is true of most productions of Cabaret because it's part of the show.
Yeah, I really, really love these here.
And they're different from London.
They're totally different from London. But yeah, you can sit at the front of the space. You can get a phone call from members of the company.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Who may or may not be seeing you from somewhere in the building, although you won't be able to see them. So that's like quite, you know, that's part of the fun of the eye concept, I suppose,
right.
In a way. There's not a bad seat here. And you can feel it. You can feel the energy of the crowd really responding to it. They feel seen, you feel part of it, you feel almost like you're making it happen in some way, and that you're a character inside the piece.
Time to take a walk with a Broadway star, so let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
We're literally with the Mrs. Jackson as of 5 months ago. Congratulations on just marriage, but then also this huge role to play Catherine Jackson for MJ the Musical.
Yes.
What does it feel like to be walking to work right now, literally?
Literally every day, I'm in awe.
Yeah.
I am just always considering the fact that this was my dream from the time I was a little girl. And growing up, born and raised in the Bronx, the fact that I get to see those beautiful lights in Times Square, which is one of my favorite places in New York, I get to see that every day. It's surreal. That's one of my castmates. Hi, Michael!
You're just a beautiful example of it's really never too late. I know that you made your Broadway debut when you were in your 50s, which,
50.
by the way, 50 where? Because you look incredible.
Right here, my left knee. Yep, 50, right in there.
But that is just incredible to think about. Talk a little bit about that, because I know when a lot of the times when people get up there, I almost feel like the roles are typecasted, or it's a situation where you're limited.
Right.
How did you use this just this experience to work in your favor?
Well, I've always I've allowed fear to dictate a lot of my decisions in my life, which is why I am blossoming and blooming, as I call it, at 50 or in my 50s.
In your prime. Let's talk about
That's it,
In your
50 years
prime.
young.
Yep.
But I got to a point where I decided I didn't want to be afraid anymore. I literally choose bravery every day. Every moment that something that scares me is in my path, I choose bravery and I now go toward the things that scare me.
Catherine has always been such a revered person in the Jackson family.
Yes.
I imagine it's probably just such an honor to be playing that role as well.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about what it means to you in this moment.
Ooh, well, we know that Catherine Jackson is one of the most iconic matriarchs in our history.
Yeah.
So that alone is huge. I'd like to say there's a duality within Catherine, as I think that is with all of us as human beings.
Right.
But she's a really beautiful mixture of softness and strength. So I try to approach the role with that, and I'd like to think that I am that as well.
We're here. We're at work.
We are here.
So we're gonna let you go in and do your thing.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure as well.
It takes a whole lot of people to keep a Broadway show running, from the stars on stage to the orchestra in the pit and all the people behind the scenes whose names you don't always see in the playbill. Our man Perry is on the town.
So we are backstage of the Gershwin in the stage management office with the lady herself, Sel. This is crazy. The emotion, the energy. We're about to start a show. So a show as massive as this, I mean, you've got flying bubbles. You've got, flying witches. You've got all sorts of things going on, and you're there, kind of running the whole rehearsal. Is that extra pressure?
Oh, yes, every day. Every day there's the extra pressure because this show is so loved by everybody. Every day I start the show and I was like, you know what? I was that girl. I really loved this show. So I feel a little pressure that I need to do a good job for the audience or the girl I was like 20 years ago. Pretty much we have a great day and then we have fun at work, yeah.
That's wonderful. I always say, it might be your 200th time doing it, but it's some audience member's first time to do it.
Exactly.
It brings that magic.
Absolutely. In a day, I can get to see the audience when I walk through the house, and when I see them excited and they have playbills, their smiles, drinks in their hands. That's the good reminder. That's the reason why I'm doing this job, and I need that reminder sometimes. Yeah.
All right, I might be as much of a fangirl of Wicked as you are. Do you mind showing me around?
Oh, I don't mind it at all.
So this is actually where the magic happens. This is where you call it from.
Yes, this is where we call. It's fantastic. We have a view of the stage right here. We don't have to use a monitor, but we have the monitor.
So how many cues are you calling out of this thing? How many light cues are there in this show?
So we have almost 300 cues.
Almost 300 light cues, and that's not talking about the automation and all the magic.
Yes, because we would flip these switches for automation and autoflat and then rail. But yeah, we have 300 cues for lights.
I normally say, what does Broadway mean to you? But it is the 20th anniversary of Wicked. What does Wicked on Broadway mean to you?
It really means everything to me. I know a lot of people say their favorite show is Wicked, but mine is Wicked. I was listening and singing along with their original cast member, album. I was translating English to Japanese, the Wicked lyrics, just because I loved it so much. And I think if I didn't meet Wicked when I was middle school, I don't think I would be here, meaning I don't think I would have chosen this profession without Wicked.
Well, that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to check out extended cuts of any of these interviews, head over to Broadway.com. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and you're watching The Broadway Show.